Here, here, here we go. Week 10. Here we go. Cincinnati at Baltimore. This is a Thursday night game. Big game. Big game. If Cincinnati wants to get in the playoffs, they're going to have to find a way to win this football game. They've already lost to Baltimore, and Baltimore is one of the top 2 or 3 or 4 teams in the league. Cincinnati should be, but they're not. They're not playing well on defense, and the coach has been making a lot of mistakes. I'm looking for Cincinnati to bounce back here, and so are the line moves. The game opens Baltimore 6, 52.5. It's now 5.5, 52.5. So the total has not moved, although I do see some money coming in on the over, but it's not reflected yet in the line. Giants at Carolina. This is really not at Carolina. I believe this is in Germany. So there's no home field advantage, and both these teams are horrible anyway. The game opened, Giants 4.5. It's now 5.5. Who in the heck would be laying points with the Giants? They're terrible, and so is the other team. Carolina, the total 42.5 down to 40.5. Next game, Buffalo at the Colts. Colts looked horrible the other night with Flacco replacing Richardson, but that will improve. Buffalo is a 4.5-point favorite down to 3.5, so money is coming in on Indianapolis. The total 47.5 down to 47. Minnesota at Jacksonville. Jacksonville is probably going to be the next team to fire their head coach unless they start pulling off some miracles. Minnesota 5.5 down to 4.5. There is money coming in on Jacksonville, and the total went from 46.5 down to 45.5. Pittsburgh and Washington. This is a big game. Washington is 7-2 on the season. Who could have predicted that? It's incredible that they're playing so well. This is one of those teams. Every year you have something like this where the team goes from last to first. Well, they're right there. They're 7-2, and they're hosting Pittsburgh, who's playing very well, and they have Russell Wilson, the quarterback, who is also playing very well. Washington 2.5 remains 2.5, and the total has gone from 44.5 to 45.5. Atlanta goes to New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is getting some players back. They have been really banged up. Atlanta's playing well, but they're not a dynamite team. This is a division game. Atlanta 3.5, 48.5 down to 46. But I believe Carr will be playing for New Orleans in this game. This should be a war in this division. Denver goes to Kansas City. This is another division game. We also, Kansas City on Monday night, they won the game. They won it in overtime. I thought that Bowles made a mistake not going for 2 because you really don't want to play extra quarters against Mahomes. Mahomes did hurt his ankle in that game. The line opens in this game, Kansas City 9.5 down to 8, 42.5 down to 41.5. That seems a little short to me unless there's bad weather, and we do have to wait for weather reports this time of year, especially in outdoor stadiums in weather areas like this. San Francisco goes to Tampa. Tampa Bay, it could be a little bit down after that game the other night. They played hard. Even though they lost their number 1 and number 2 wide receiver, they're putting up points. Baker Mayfield, they didn't keep him in Cleveland, but I'll bet you they'd like to have him back now. He's playing pretty damn good ball. San Francisco might get some players back, including CMC. They opened 6.5 down to 5.5. It opened 48.5. It's up to 50.5, and I can understand why. There should be points in this game. New England at Chicago. Chicago seems to be a mess. It seems like they've lost the clubhouse. Chicago opens 7 down to 5.5, and the total 39.5. New England is playing better, and their quarterback is showing promise, but Chicago seems to be going in the wrong direction. Even though they have the better record, the money is coming in on New England there. Tennessee, another mess this year, 2-6 on the season, goes to the Chargers, who are rounding into shape under Harbaugh. Herbert at quarterback. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're not as strong. Their resume isn't as strong as it was a year ago because they lost some players, but they're playing very solid football. The Chargers 7.5. It remains 7.5. Went from 38 to 37.5. Philadelphia goes to Dallas. Dallas is now without Dak Prescott, who's injured. Lamb also may be hurt. We're not too sure about that. Philadelphia opened 6.5 up to 7, 44.5 down to 41.5. Both moves are understandable. The Jets go to Arizona. The Jets. Who knows what they're going to do? The Arizona opens 1.5, but the Jets are now 1 on the road at Arizona. The total went from 45 to 46.5. I don't know about this. Are you really trusting the Jets that much to go out to Arizona and win a football game? But the point spread is definitely, it's basically a pick 'em. Detroit goes to Houston. Houston might get some of their people back. They've been banged up, hurt. They don't have wide receivers. They lost one for the season. They had another one's out for a while, but he might be back as well. Detroit opens 4, down to 3.5, 48.5 up to 49.5. The only thing I can say about this, do you really want to get in front of this freight train called the Detroit Lions? And they demolished Green Bay last week. That was embarrassing in a division rival game. But this could be a letdown spot for them because you're coming off a division road win. Going on the road again to Houston, Houston is not that bad. It may be worth, and that's why the spread might be dropping from 4.5 from 4 to 3.5. But I do see points in this game. I can see that happening. And on Monday night, we have Miami going to the Rams. Now, the Rams came back. They won that game in Seattle, another coaching era, I believe, up in Seattle. The Rams, 2.5, down to 1. And that's money coming in on Miami, 49.5 up to 50.5. I do see points in this game, especially if the Rams can keep their wide receivers healthy, which they were healthy last week. So that's the look-ahead report for Week 10. I'm excited. We're going to have a big winning week. Stay tuned. I hit end recording. That's what, now I'm done. Okay. Now this is where I get all fucked up. Now I did it again. I hit it.